Hey, what's up guys, TheJordude here, back again with another basics video. And in this video I'm going to be talking mainly about evolving. So evolving, it's a mechanic that everyone knows how to use. It's what makes Shadowverse different than other CCGs. And it's a really cool mechanic. I think most people kind of get the basics of how to use your evolve point. Like most of the time you use it on turn 4 or 5 to help you fight for board, and that's mainly what evolving is for. As you know, you can evolve your follower that you played so it doesn't have summoning sickness, so it can attack into another follower at the same turn and then try to fight for board that way. And yeah, generally you're right, that's how most, I would say like 75% of the time you're going to be using it to do that, to fight for board. However, like the rest of the other 25%, or maybe like 60% of the time you do that, and the rest of the 40% is when you're going to be using it for different means, which a lot of people may not see. And so you might want to use your evolve point for either being really aggressive, getting that face damage in, pre-evolving so that your opponent can't deal with it, so it could get face damage in later on so you can push more damage, or you could set up more pressure by evolving 2 turns consecutively. So yeah, evolving isn't just purely trading for board. Sometimes you want to save your evo points if you don't necessarily need to use it on the soonest turn you can evolve. And yeah, I think that's what makes the difference between taking your Shadowverse gameplay to the next level. It's being more flexible and using your evolve points in different situations like that. So again, I'm going to, just like my other basic video, I'm going to be doing some I'm going to try to find some game replays where I can showcase times where I evolve in different situations and the reasons behind it. And I'm going to be using Blood again, just because Blood is the best deck right now. And the reason why, one of the reasons why it's one of the best decks is because it's so flexible, and you're very flexible with how you use your evo points a lot of times. So I do think this is a good deck to get my point across. And yeah, if you like this video, make sure you subscribe and give me a thumbs up, and check out my social media links down below in the description, and follow me on there. So thanks for tuning in guys, and let's get on to some So because this video is focusing on evos, I think I'll kind of go through fast forward through the first 3 turns quickly, although you can see what happens just so you have some context of how the game was going, and then we'll slow it down once we get to our evo turns. So yeah, the Blood Mirror, as you can see, both playing Toes on turn 2. Almost necessary if you're playing the mirror match. Yeah, it's pretty much a mirror. He's going first though, so he does have the advantage. So he doesn't have like doesn't have an Alice or BKB here, just double 2 drops. Oops. Alright, so let's see here. This turn I could have went for the Alice, so the Alice is only buffing the Hector and the Farius, so it's not that great of a buff. I'd rather trade 3 things instead of 2, trade an extra body here, because I need to fight for the board, right? So here I am using my evo point as you would normally see, just to fight for the board. Nothing too fancy here. And so it's his turn. See if he does anything different with his evo. Actually, I don't even think he evos his turn. Yeah, he didn't evo. Alright, so this turn I could talk about a little, since this evo kind of looks weird to people, I guess. So here I decided to evolve my Alice. So let's talk about this. Here, like the Alice trading evolving to 1/1 isn't that big of a deal. It pretty much does nothing. However, the reason why I'm doing this is that he could easily just trade into my Alice as a 4/4 put it 3 health, and then BKB would punish me. So this plays around the bodyguard, big knuckle bodyguard. It also plays around, I guess Hector wouldn't be a factor because he wouldn't have the cards in his hand to do it. It also plays, it doesn't play so much around Gruff because he can evolve into it. If he had Hector but he didn't have the effect, he would still be able to evo over it, so my Alice could trade into his Hector. So mainly I evolved the Alice just because the bigger body will trade better into whatever he could play on turn 6. It's not so much for this trade, although it does play around my health being at 3. It also plays around, it also plays well into the Phantom Cat because I could just trade the Merman into his evolved Phantom Cat. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to. I would have to evolve something into it, which would trade badly into the cat. End up picking up the BKB though, so it's good for me. Some people could evolve the White Merman here just to push the extra 2 damage. The reasoning behind doing that, or why some people would make that play, is because you can push the extra damage in, and then while people are trying to deal with the Merman, you still have your BKB and the Baphomet on the board doing additional damage. So it's more of an aggressive play for sure. However, I don't want to do it because it would leave my opponent with the last evo point, so I can't evo into what he evos last. And also I could be punished by things like Emeralda or stuff like that. So now that, because what I said in my last basics video actually is that, I just mentioned it, is that you do want to be the last person evolving. Just because you get like this kind of advantage. You get to evolve and make a big body, and your opponent will have a hard time dealing with it, especially if you clean up the board like this, right? So yeah, you do want to try to be the last person to evolve, if possible. Like, there's going to be lots of times where you can't just do it. You have to use those evo points after a turn, and then you just end up running out before your opponent does. And that's fine if you have to. Just that you want to try to be the last person to evo. And as you can see, he had no way of dealing with the Phantom Cat because he had no more evo points to get over to play a follower and let it attack on the same turn to trade into it. So here's another replay. I think there was a couple evos in here that are interesting. So let's get through these first couple turns. We're against it was like a mid-range Shadow, I think. Clears my board. Going on my first evo turn here. My hand, I have quite a few neutrals in my hand, so, and an Alice is the obvious play here. I do evolve this. This is like an obvious evo. Just some more insight though that why you guarantee make this evo. First of all, you clear the board so you don't take this repetitive 2 damage by these 2 followers. Also, especially in Shadow, when on their first turn of evoing, they usually like Cerberus, for example, or Erd or Necro Assassin. They all like, well, Erd and Necro Assassin would deal with Alice, but like Cerberus, for example, would trade 1 for 1. Also, he doesn't have Soul Squasher Shadows yet. The only thing they can kill now is like Dead Moros. Dead Moros would be a huge threat. So here, some people would probably like Evo because they like Evo in every turn for some reason, but there's no point Evoing into a skeleton. Because you make a big threat to deal with a 1-1, and then you could get punished by something like a Soul Squasher. And he had an easy answer anyways with the Lurking Corpse. It did cost him an Evo point to deal with it though, so I am ahead still on Evos. I decided that evolving the Lyrio wasn't really needed to ping because my Tove could rush into 1 anyway, so I might as well evolve the Feria to get the extra 1-1 buff on my board. If my opponent had an Ector, he would be actually in a pretty decent spot, but he didn't have an Ector. He did have a second Soul Squasher to deal with my area quite nicely. And here I pick up the Angel Word, super nice pickup for that Soul Squasher. And this is actually the last turn of the game, so here I make the Evo my Toph. A lot of people probably won't make this Evil, or I could be wrong, maybe a lot of people will make this Evil. But the reason behind this is because my opponent has 2 Attendant of the Knights. They can't attack any of my followers. Whatever he draws, he's out of Evil points himself, so whatever he draws besides Ector can't deal with the Toph immediately. I guess there's other stuff like removal spell. We did see the Undying Resentment. He could also have like Kali or something like that. So there were a couple punishes, but I would say 70%, maybe even 80% of the time, your Shadow's just going to draw a follower that they could play, but it won't do anything else. And then since they can't attack with it, I get the extra damage in with his Toph. And then whatever if it's just like a normal follower too, next turn I could just follow up with the Gruff to deal with that, with the Rush, and then keep going in with the Toph. So I'm potentially getting 6 extra damage off this 1 Evo point, which is why I make the aggressive Evo. I don't really need to fight for board. I'm never killing these Attendant Knights on my own. So yeah, that's why I make that aggressive Evo there. And then he makes his draw. It's a dead card, like I was saying. Most of the time they're going to draw something that can't answer this board well, especially knowing his type of deck. So we just win that game. Alright, so here's another game against Dragon this time. Get through the first 3 turns. Fight the Goblin Leader there. Because Grimnir, if he had like Salamander's Breath, he'd be able to clear my board, which he did have. So I wanted the extra body here. Decided to go for Angel Word here. So in this turn, I decide that I don't want to Evo. The reason is because if I Evo the Goblin Leader, pre-Evo the Goblin Leader just to push face, he could have a second Breath of Salamander and would clear my board. So I decide against evolving. He has a Sybil here. Although he doesn't Evo it to try to clear my board, feels like he doesn't need it. I don't have enough pressure. I have a good punish here because I get to clear off his Sybil now with the Actress. And I get +6/+6 buff on my Evo this turn. This is probably one of the most insane variants I've ever had. And yeah, like he fervors and plays Isla. Now he Evos to try trade against the board, but it's a bit too late. Like especially against Dragon, you have cards like Bahamut, you have a lot of AoE stuff I assume. So he should have Evo'd the last turn, in my opinion. Here I think I could have Hectored Face, because I could have put him at 4 for my Grimnir in 4 turns, but decided to go for the more board play. And actually here, so I evolved the Angel Word. So because he ramped up, so he was so he ramped up a lot. I feel like that there was a chance that he decided to ramp instead of using clearance or try to fight for board, because he either had something like a Bahamut or a Grimnir in his hand. So I pre-evolved the Angel Word because or I evolved it just to be more aggressive. Also, if he has, I can't deal with Bahamut anyways, so if he has Bahamut I probably lose. But if he has Grimnir, he could clear everything else if I didn't evolve the Angel Word or the Hector. Or if I didn't evolve anything, he could clear my board with just the Grimnir enhance. And then, so by evolving the Angel Word, if he played Grimnir, he would have to use his last Evo to trade into my Angel Word. So this way I force him to, if he only has Grimnir as an answer, he has to use his last Evo. And then I'd be the person with the last Evo point. I have somewhat the control, the initiative. And as you can see here, he didn't have any answers, so he just concedes. Alright, so I played a bunch of games, and this is probably the best example I could find where I pre-evolved. So yeah, we'll just use this. If you guys want a really good pre-evolve video, check pre-evolve example, check out my my previous basics video. of how you adapt your play based on going first or second. And then the last example game, I have a good example of pre-evolving. Yeah, so let's skip through these turns. He's playing some kind of weird, I guess it's a D-shift deck, but it's got some Earthright stuff in it, as you will see. Alright, so here I pick up the Alice and play it. I could pre-evolve the Alice here. The reason why I don't, like the 5/6 Eve Alice would actually trade into a lot of stuff, or my opponent probably won't be able to deal with it. Although because we did see like the magic missiles and stuff, I was a little bit afraid of petrification being a punish. But yeah, pre-evolving it wouldn't have been that bad of a play though. I could definitely see a lot of people making the play, and it's probably not wrong. I don't think what I did was wrong either. He did get the trade on the on my oh no, he has the Witch Bolt. He's like some really weird cheeky deck. So this because he had the Witch Bolt, like a card that I don't really expect, I thought that he would evolve and trade into my Alice, and then my Hector would be able to free kill it with its fanfare effect, and then I would probably be able to pre-evolve the Hector into a 7/7, and then that way that would have been a much better pre-evolve than my Alice would have been. But yeah, he had the Witch Bolt, which is weird. So I have the control now with Big Knuckle Bodyguard. Again, this is another example where I could have pre-evolved. It would have been wrong for the same reason as the Alice, but keeping my play a little bit consistent here and not doing it. So I have to go for their BKB so I could curve in with my 3-drops. This is where I finally decided to pre-evolve. I feel like I'm giving him too much time, so I need to start pressuring him. By doing that, I'm putting two big bodies on the board where he has to deal with both. Goblin Leader obviously is a priority target, so while he's dealing with that, the next turn I could evolve my BKB into a 5/6 and start going faceless it. Just because he's going on to his turn 8 now, so D-shift is starting to become real. But yeah, I definitely think I should have pre-evolved there earlier. I fell for my own mistakes of not pre-evolving and thinking about it as much. But in this game, you could definitely make the read to pre-evolve the Alice and the BKB those previous turns. So he has no answer to this board, so now I can evolve my BKB, put a lot of pressure in, get clear off that Guardian with my my Gruff. Here I accidentally played the Goblin because I was going on autopilot. Get a free Goblin off the Goblin Leader, but yeah, I decided to waste a card. Yeah, then we evolve my, and then just like the previous example, just evolving the BKB because he's out of evil points now, so he can't evolve to trade anymore. So something random like a Israfil or something, right? Can't just come out and clear a lot of stuff. Also because he can't Evo, he might not be able to deal with both of these threats, so I could get that double the damage with the Evo, essentially. It also gives me more stats, so if he has a bunch of like, maybe like Fire Chain or Wind Blast, he might not be able to reach those big targets anymore. And yeah, that's pretty much game. I just finished it off with Grimnir here. So as you can see, guys, in all these example games I have, I don't think I've had like the strongest examples, but yeah, I don't think I had the strongest examples in this video, unfortunately. I did play a bunch of games, but couldn't seem to find them. Maybe I didn't pick the right deck, but as you can see, hopefully I give you some more insight on ways you could use your Evo points. You don't always have to use your Evo points to, like, the first turn you can use them and start trading on board. Sometimes you can save them if you have more efficient ways like fanfare effects to deal with the board. Sometimes you could use the Evo to just be really aggressive, especially if it's like behind a ward. You could Evo, start going face, try to get extra damage in with it. You can pre-evolve to play around removal, plays around your opponent's followers that could evo, so they can't trade into it, or they have to do a 2-for-1 into it and just waste their entire turn. Just there's a lot of ways you could use your evo points. Another point that I need to mention is that you don't want to, though I'd say you want to be the last person to evo generally because it puts you in the advantage on the board, you don't want to hoard your evo points through the entire game, because if the game ends and you haven't used all your evo points, you probably could have had a stronger impact somewhere in the game. So unless you're totally destroying them, but if you're saving your if you still have evo points and you lose the game, there might have been times where you could have like used them and would have helped you out more. So just keep that in mind. Even though you do want to be the last person evoing, you don't want to keep holding them and to the point where the game ends and you don't get to use them, because that's just wasted resources. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. If you enjoyed it, or if there's any more questions, feel free to comment below, and thanks for tuning in, guys. See you next time.